It's easy to assume that AI, new tech, all the young people are going to be the ones, the early adopters, right? But what we found in the research is that the youngest people, those 18 to 24, are actually not the heaviest users of AI.
So, do you use AI? How do you use it? How often do you use it? Those are a few of the questions that Shift Browser and MX8 just asked millennials, Gen Z, boomers, everyone under the sun to really get a pulse on how AI is infiltrating society and how people are using it. I'm here with Eleanor Semeraro, analyst from The Measure, who has been pouring through the data to really give everyone an overview of what's happening. Eleanor, how's it going?
Going pretty well. Thanks, Mike.
Of course. What are you seeing? Tell us.
So I think one of the interesting things that popped up in this data set is that, it's easy to assume that AI, new tech, all the young people are going to be the ones, the early adopters, right? But what we found in the research is that the youngest people, those 18 to 24, are actually not the heaviest users of AI. That group would be in the 25 to 44-year-olds, so sort of like late Gen Z, mid-millennial age room. Those are the people that are using AI every day for the most part. Almost half of those people are using AI every day. So I think that has real implications for how the market, how AI companies want to market themselves, how they're speaking about their products and describing them in all of the different use cases that can happen. That being said, though, one very interesting insight that popped out as well was that the youngest users, they do use AI. 35% of 18 to 24-year-olds say they use AI daily, but they are wildly more concerned about the environmental impacts of AI and how dominant that AI has become in digital life. So they aren't the heaviest users, but they're the ones sort of like raising some red flags, being like, whoa, okay, we might want to think about what's going on here.
Yeah, so it sounds like that 25 age group, that's the heavy power users, daily users, are probably more often than not also in the workforce, right? Where the 18 to 24-year-olds are probably in school or figuring out the applications, but also, finding ways to use it effectively. So when it comes to the energy, what are they saying? Like, what is that actually a hindrance for them to use this stuff?
Yeah, so a majority, so 67% of these, and these are just people 18 to 24, 67% say they are very concerned about AI's energy use. So we had asked about the environmental impact, and you think about, AI, it is not only electricity, is not only, land for the data centers that are going to power all of the AI technology that's running through all of the internet every day, every second, but also like the water uses of these data centers. And I think, this is maybe not applies just to younger people, but environmental costs of AI have been in the news recently, right? Like New York just imposed a 1-year ban on new big data center constructions. I know where I live in Northern Virginia, it's been nicknamed data center alleys, and people are getting really worried, especially the younger people, because of the energy use costs are going up for consumers. Water is becoming more scarce. So I think the environmental thing is a big part, at least to the people that are, I guess, more dialed in to AI beyond just, oh, it's a fun little chat thing that'll tell me what I should cook with the ingredients in my fridge, right?
Yeah. Well, and that's the question too, like, because you can choose what to use AI for when it comes to ChatGPT and, those new browsers that are popping up, but also it's also embedded into the experience when you think about things like Google, just traditional search, right?
Yeah.
And ubiquity within Google search, it really kind of just slips AI usage under the rug to where people can't even control whether or not they're using it, right?
That's right. Google has, the new like AI summaries or AI mode. And I read that you can't turn those off. Interestingly, Firefox, had launched some AI thing, and there was such a backlash among Firefox users that then they made it an opt-in or out situation. So people, at least, people using it more frequently, are definitely aware of how it is sort of like infiltrating everyday life, and not just when you type in chatgpt.com, but when you go to a traditional search engine. Now, that's not to say that AI is overtaking traditional search. 58% of Americans, that's across all age groups, still use Google or Bing or these traditional search engines. But now that these search engines are serving up AI at the top, I think it's possible that AI is going to become a big part of how we search for information on the internet, whether we want to or not. Having the ability to customize if you want to use it or not could be really helpful, I think, to some people that want that sort of privacy and transparency. Also interesting is that, we talked about before about the 18 to 24-year-olds not being a heavy user group, but not the heaviest user group of AI daily. They are the cohort that is most likely to go to AI tools first for search. So again, it's a very interesting sort of paradox that's happening with these young people. So 47% of them use AI tools before they use a traditional search engine. And then among the ages of 25 to 34-year-olds, traditional and AI first search are tied for how often, which one they go to first, which is also interesting and sort of indicative that, AI and search is, or AI might be starting to move toward supplanting the typical search engines, but we're not there yet, especially with older people. 83% of those over 65 are not using AI at all to search.
Yeah. Well, and then I wonder, you have to also take into account things like TikTok and Instagram, which are increasingly becoming search engines, like for people and the younger generations in that 18 to 24 group, right?
Yeah.
And you mentioned the energy impact of AI. One other really interesting approach to navigating the nuances between traditional search and AI, Shift Browser actually takes this approach where it has smart choice of the experience, right? So if you're asking something like the weather from your search engine, that is a question that can be answered by traditional search, right? And it will automatically read the context of the question or whatever you're searching for and put you down a path to conserve energy, really, and address some of these issues that are really top of mind for these younger demographics and age groups like the 18 to 24 that you're talking about.
Yeah, that's really cool that Shift does that. The whole, they have a focus on the energy usage. They're well aware that, AI is not necessary for a lot of the things that we use it for today. It's just easy. It might be there. And I think especially being able to sort of take that message to the younger people that are using AI tools, but also worried about the environment could be, a good market message.
Yes, for sure. So what else is interesting from this report? What's another thing that jumped out at you that can be beneficial to the industry and people?
Some of the generational data has real implications for the brands, publishers, and technology companies that are going to be promoting their AI tools, whatever they may be. And coming back to sort of the level of control, designing opt-out of control, whether that's an AI summary in a browser, could be really important for these companies, or at least giving users more control over how AI is being used. I think that's definitely one of the key findings that the market these days might not be highlighting as much. It's all about, let's use this tool because Claude can do this really, really fast. It's great. And say, okay, well, that might not be the message that's going to resonate the most, especially maybe with older people, but with, different age groups. I think, and also, along with the AI tools, is designing them for certain age groups might be something, an area of opportunity here. We found that seniors and older people, they almost half of them just don't know how or why to use AI. So there's definitely sort of a messaging and educational component that seems to be missing for that group. But when you think about it, a chatbot is not super intimidating. It can be conversational, which I think a lot of older people might enjoy. So it's more of and again, I guess I'm using Chat GPT and a chatbot as the example here, but to me, it seems like that could be a tool that could be super useful for people that might be homebound or might not have more, community support to ask questions and get on the right path, whether it's for legal advice, not to replace a lawyer, but just to get some more information. And I think it's easy also to say right now, oh, the old people they're not going to really start using it. It's just not going to be a thing they do. We said that about Facebook years ago. The old people didn't understand it. They didn't get onto it. And now it's mostly
They've taken over.
Their friends. They've taken it over. So I think it's just sort of a matter of education and seeing what the technology can do for you.
To that point, not to go off topic, but even companionship, right? To your point, it's like people are, every time you talk to someone about AI that's in a different field of work or in a different life position or stage of life, you realize that they've been thinking about its application in a completely new way. Like you talk to your accountant or something and you're like, oh, wow, I never thought to plug in Claude to this thing and automate so that sort of knowledge and discovery for the older groups might take longer to happen because they're less experimental with their digital devices. But once it hits, it's definitely going to get over the hump and start to make its way into their life, I think, for sure.
I think it absolutely is. Now, most of them, going back to sort of like search, most of the older users do not plan to use AI more in the future, as you would expect, while most of the younger users do plan to use AI tools for search more in the future. But I think you make a good point about the different use cases. Like one of my friends, she uses it to like write emails, to personal emails. We're not talking work. Like she's like, I want to word this the right way to my friend or my mother-in-law, and she like uses ChatGPT to sort of figure out the best way to word things. I use it to figure out what to cook for dinner. Literally, it's been great. So there's just so many different applications. I think companies and brands and the tech people that are developing these tools need to think about. Yes, someone's going to use it for coding, but someone else is going to use it for shopping. Someone's going to use it for research, but someone else is going to use it to, how do I have an awkward conversation about this one thing with my boss or my spouse? It's more of like emotional support. I think the ranges of the use cases, are basically infinite, which could be good or bad. But I think it's it really comes down to how different people use it, and companies to be very aware that age is playing a factor in that, and they need to have different messages to connect with different groups.
Yeah, that's super interesting. So as we look ahead, Eleanor, what is the big prediction that you see written on the wall based off of this data?
I think AI is going to continue to grow, probably across all age groups, some probably faster than others. I think as Gen Z moves into the workforce, they're going to be forced to adopt the tools if they want to, find the right job, because, the workforce is changing because of AI. So I think that they might have to really sort of start to think about what they want their careers to look like and how they can incorporate AI tools to make themselves, very useful and not replaceable, which is a whole other podcast probably. I also think, we talked about the environmental impact. I think that's going to be a big thing, especially as states are looking to sort of reclaim some of the power from these, these huge companies that are from different areas that are, building data centers in their states. I think that's another thing that's going to come up a lot. And I also hope that some companies pull back from making the AI features mandatory. We talked about Firefox after the backlash, removing that, must use AI mode. Google hasn't done that yet. They might want to think about it because some people really don't like it. They want to be able to see lists of links. So I'm hoping that companies will, at least allow more opt-out in the future.
Yeah, take that shift browser approach that we talked about. We're guiding the user down the traditional search or the AI search based off of the questions that they're querying.
Exactly, based on that specific question in that time. I think stuff like that can be really powerful.
Yeah, and when it comes to Gen Z entering the workforce and how that will impact adoption of AI, but also the application of AI, like I'm reminded of this story. I think I read it on LinkedIn somewhere, where a boss at a company asked her Gen Z employee to go get her 50 pieces of white paper. And she went to her computer and asked the printer to print out 50 pieces of white paper so she didn't have to count 50 pieces of white paper. And then she handed her this warm paper and she was like, Gen Z is amazing. Like, what an interesting way to achieve the desired result that I asked for. And when you think about that in terms of AI and the applications and the thinking outside the box, it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out, and then especially with a generation that does demand a little bit more and is not afraid to ask for more
Mhm.
from corporations and company culture specifically. So they might actually be able to parallel path the adoption of AI as well as the environmental impact and hold companies accountable, which will be interesting to see.
Absolutely. There's a lot coming in the well, I would say years, but you think it's only been what, 3 years since ChatGPT came on board, and things have changed radically. So see what happens in the next couple of months.
Yes, since Will Smith started eating spaghetti and gradually getting better and better at eating spaghetti. Well, Eleanor, this has been incredible. Thank you. You're a data machine.
Thank you.
I appreciate you taking me through this, but also everyone listening at The Measure through all these data and insights as AI continues to make its way into our society and our lives. This is going to help us navigate it. So
Absolutely.
you're doing good work. Thank you.
Thank you. Great talking with you, Mike.